Hey there, everybody. Welcome to Fresh Out the Podcast, the greatest podcast. We're talking about all the freshest things. I'm the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, Jahan.
And I'm the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse Drew Munhausen, and we are podcast.
It's good. It's good. I like it.
We are. What would your symbiote be, Jahan? What would your symbiote look like?
Like which one?
If you
Or
bonded
like,
with an alien symbiote. Yeah, no, I mean not necessarily which one. I'm not nerdy enough to know all the ins and outs and lore of the Venom franchise and who all the different symbiotes are when you get beyond Venom and Carnage. But like, if you had a symbiote, what do you think your symbiote would be like?
I don't know. I don't think it'd be anything good. I think it'd be bad. I think it would go crazy inside my head. And then it would be another Carnage. So it'd be fun.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be a beefy one. Like he'd be really muscular and stout, and he would bust through things a lot. Like
I'd be a big old beef boy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I'd be a gray symbiote. I mean, it'd have to be.
A gray one? What's special about them? What do they do?
Nothing. I've got gray hair, gray beard. I'm a gray symbiote for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else is special about me. He's probably just like, sits around and watches movies too.
I'd want to be red, like Carnage. Carnage looks cool. Carnage
Nice.
and Anti-Venom are probably the two coolest looking symbiotes.
I really like the look of Anti-Venom too. Are you a fan of Agent Venom?
Bro, I love Agent Venom. Agent Venom's such a cool concept, and I just think it's really cool.
Well, obviously, for those listening to episode 139 of Fresh Out the Podcast, we're already talking symbiotes because Jahan and I got to go to an early screening of Venom: The Last Dance, which is the third entry in the Venom film franchise and has been heavily marketed as the epic conclusion to the story, as the last Venom movie. Will it actually be the last Venom movie? It probably depends on how much money it makes, and probably not. It probably won't be the last one, right? They'll never let these things die. Symbiotes are like cockroaches. They just have a way of always coming back, right?
Right, exactly. You'll get that
So,
joke later, guys.
I didn't even mean for that to be a joke related to the movie, but it kind of is.
Yeah, it is. It's like spot on. Yeah, man, we got to go see this. It was fun to go do the screening thing again. What'd you think, man? How'd you like it?
Yeah, let's just dive right into it. So let's start with some background, right? This is the third movie. There's two Venom movies before. They both came out. I want to say before we started doing this podcast, but it's possible that Venom: Let There Be Carnage came out while we were already doing it. I
think
can't
it
remember
did, and
well enough. I feel like it did too. Now that I think about it. But let's start with where do you land with the first two Venom movies?
let there be Carnage was 2021. Yeah. I mean, so the first one, I don't know. I guess I expected too much. I really like Venom as a character. It's hard to do Venom without the other characters, like spider characters and whatnot. It was fine. It was acceptable. It did a thing. It introduced symbiotes. Wasn't the worst thing I've seen, and it was kind of fun. The second movie sucked. It was a rushed mess, money cash grab with no heart, terrible plot. I don't know. Like Carnage has to be good, man. Carnage is supposed to be. I don't know. I really like Carnage, so it sucked to see it fall apart like that. It was just a terrible movie.
I guess it says a lot that before Let There Be Carnage came out, I rewatched the first Venom movie. I did not bother rewatching either Venom movie before the third one came out. I'm kind of with you. Like the first Venom movie, I remember going into it expecting like rock bottom of the barrel fare. And I remember thinking it was it had some fun moments. It was kind of boring at times, but then there were moments where like Tom Hardy jumps in a lobster tank in a restaurant and it was just super wild, and he was being really strange when he bonded with the Venom symbiote, and I really enjoyed just the weirdness of it all. And I found the movie to be kind of like junk food. Like, it's not good and it's not good for you, but like it's fun and you can still enjoy it anyway. That's kind of how I felt about the first one.
Yeah, it's fair.
And the second one was kind of like junk food as well, but like a piece of chocolate that's been left out in the sun and maybe melted a little bit, and it's just kind of gross.
It's not good for you,
like,
and you didn't enjoy it.
yeah, it's just it's not what you want. I think it still had some fun moments as well, but it was a little bit more of a struggle. And now here we are with a third entry, and I had no idea what to expect with it. You know, I had seen the trailers, but that's it. I don't dive into the Venom lore, like I said. You know, I'm down to just grab some popcorn and sit down and watch this movie, or in the case of our screening, grab some pizza beforehand and then sit down and watch this movie and have a great time. I think if we get into it, and I'll start off, you know, pretty spoiler free. I doubt we'll dive into any really big spoilers for this, but there might be some. Like, for me, the spoilers in this are not what's in the movie, but what's not in the movie, in a way.
Yeah.
If that even makes sense. And I'll get into that. But I guess I kind of felt like it's another Venom movie. Like, it's probably the best of the three.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't feel like that's a very high bar, especially the way that we just talked about them. And I think that overall, it's fine. I think that my realization or my takeaway from this is that the heart of the Venom franchise is the banter and relationship between Eddie and Venom, and that is on full display here. And their banter is funny, and the physical comedy that Tom Hardy is doing is extreme and well done, and I enjoy that part of it. And so if you want to see more of Tom Hardy just being weird and looking perpetually sweaty as he's dealing with the symbiote and being on the run, I think you'll find things to enjoy. Otherwise, I think there's a lot of the plot that's a bit of a mess. There's new characters that are introduced that really make no impact at all. But there are a lot of there's just a lot of symbiote action in general that I think will appeal to people that really like Venom and these characters, even if the movie's not necessarily that great. But it was a fun time. I have a feeling, based on you and I, just brief exchange that we had after the movie, because we didn't really talk about it. I think we were saving it for the pod. And I think you were higher on it than me, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I agree. It's the best of the three. By a good amount. Honestly, there were parts of it that were dumb. I feel like they were close to actually having an actually really good movie here. There's a little too much of the silly nonsense that doesn't need to be in the movie. They had a family in the movie that was like a side plot, and some of their stuff was really good. Some of it was a little too much, dragged on a bit. There's some things like that, but I don't know, I would have rather see them focus on some of the scientist characters a little bit more about that interaction, because there's some interesting things going on there between that and the symbiotes, and I feel like we didn't get to know the other symbiotes as well as we didn't really get into that kind of thing.
No, I couldn't name another symbiote in this movie.
No. And
Venom.
That's kind of a shame. Like, they had the opportunity. But other than that, like, I really liked it. Yeah, you're right. The banter. I feel like Venom and Eddie were, like, in fine form. Like, their relationship has gotten to a point where it's very entertaining to watch. Some of the bad guy stuff, like the military people, that's not a spoiler to say there's military. Of course there is. But the Six or whatever they were calling them, I thought that the scene where they were introduced hanging from the helicopter was really cool. And they actually were like competent and stuff, and like actually a huge risk, danger to Venom instead of just cannon fodder. And I don't know, the stakes felt real. The relationships felt real and important. And all in all, it had a somewhat satisfactory conclusion. I have notes.
I'd definitely say somewhat satisfactory, like you said. So, yeah, it's worth noting. It's been in the trailer, so I think this is common knowledge now that Noel is the villain, but like with an asterisk, right? It's like
Yeah.
Noel trying to be freed from whatever prison he's in, sending his alien minions that I don't know what they're properly called.
Xenophage.
You know, Xenophage, there you go. Sending the Xenophage to go, essentially help free him. I won't get into the specifics of it, but essentially a key to Noel being freed lies within the bond between Venom and Eddie. And because of that, they're most visible to the Xenophage when they are in full Venom form.
Yeah.
Which means that they have to limit how much they're in Venom form in the movie, which I thought was kind of a strange way to handcuff yourself when you're in the third movie of this franchise. Like, we've established these characters, we've established Venom. Venom is fun to watch when he's big with his big teeth and fighting things and tearing things apart, and you're immediately, due to the plot, limiting how much you can do that.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was kind of strange, but the silver lining to that is you're allowing Tom Hardy's weirdness to be put on display, which is entertaining in its own right. And because you still get to see like the tentacles of Venom coming out and like the head kind of on, over the shoulder type thing. And that works too. And there's a lot more emphasis on their banter and relationship, which I enjoyed. I thought it was interesting. They say in the movie that at this point in the plot, Venom and Eddie have been, their relationship has gone on for about a year at this point, even though it's been a span of 6 movies or 6 years that these movies have come out. It's only been a year in time in the movie. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting plot thing. I think the Xenophages looked cool. They were intimidating.
Yeah.
And the way that they devoured their enemies was a highlight for me, and I'm not even going to say what it was because I think you should just see it for yourself.
It's pretty shocking when it first happens, and I'm like, that's cool. That was a very cool way to kill something. Yeah, I like the design. The design of most of the characters is great. I thought Null kind of looked cheesy when you really get to see him.
You barely really see him at all.
Yeah, you barely do, but at the end, like, you get to see him a little bit, just like his face, and it's kind of like, doesn't look that good, but that's fine. Yeah, I wish there was more Null. I understand why there's not. He's kind of like an Avengers level threat. Not really in the realm of possibility for Eddie to deal with. But
yeah, the comparison has been made that Null is more like Thanos in the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie, not like in Endgame or Infinity War, right? Like Null's like looming from the background, but not really the present big bad.
Yeah. And I mean, all in all, this movie I thought was pretty good. I don't know if it's fresh, but it's damn near close. I think it's worth a watch, and I had a fun theater experience. So if you liked either of the other two, you'll probably like this one.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that it's definitely a little bit messy. It's definitely not a, it's not a high bar for, it's not setting like a new trend for superhero movies, like, oh, we're so back, it's not that kind of thing. Like, this is just, it's another Venom movie. And I do want to talk about, I'm going to get into some slight spoiler territory. It may have sounded like we were spoiling some things already. We really weren't. Like, this is all pretty generic stuff about the movie. This is what I want to talk about in some spoiler territory. Again, though, this isn't really a spoiler for what's in the movie. It's a spoiler for what's not in the movie. So here, that's it. Full spoiler alert. I'm moving.
Spoiler alert.
Don't at me. In Venom, Let There Be Carnage, in the post-credits scene, that's where we see Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock get teleported, poof, to an alternate dimension, to the MCU dimension, where we see J. Jonah Jameson revealing that Peter Parker Spider-Man. And I remember when we saw that in credit scene in Let There Be Carnage, I was like, whoa, big implications here. Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock in Venom is now in the MCU. Whoa. And then obviously we know how that ends. In No Way Home, you get another post-credit scene where Eddie Brock is kind of unceremoniously teleported back to his own world with no further implications, right? But now, in my mind, there is a dotted line from the Venom franchise to the MCU. And we've seen this in Morbius, too. Like in Morbius, Michael Keaton's Vulture shows up in post-credit scene. It's very odd and totally tacked on and makes no sense, but it's there. So that has a dotted line, too. I guess you can assume that Morbius and Venom are in the same Sony Spider-Man without Spider-Man universe. So that being said, I'm not saying that I expected there to be any more MCU implications or ties to this movie. There definitively are not. And an interesting thing about this is that we talked about the soldier in it, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, who is a total just generic bad guy soldier they give really no development to. And I like Chiwetel Ejiofor as an actor. Notably played Baron Mordo in the Doctor Strange movies. And then you also have Rhys Ifans in this movie who plays... I thought he was playing Kurt Connors in this movie. Like, I assumed because you have the Sony movies and an Amazing Spider-Man, he plays the Lizard. I'm like, oh, he's going to be Kurt Connors. And he's not. He's a completely different character, absolutely no relation. So I thought it was a fascinating choice to have Chiwetel Ejiofor and Rhys Ifans, who've played notable Marvel villains that have MCU ties, in this movie that now has a dotted line to the MCU, playing completely different characters, no implications there. I just thought that was an interesting choice. This is me getting nerdy with it, and usually I avoid it. Like, at the end of the day, do I care that these guys played other superhero characters and now they're playing new characters? No. I think it's just strange if you're going to have made this movie have strange connections to the MCU that you're not being mindful of that also. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they had all these...
Probably thinking too hard about it.
No, they had a lot of connections between the two. They teased this Venom being in the MCU thing. They put him in it. He was there, technically. And then they did nothing with it. And honestly, like, I don't know. It feels kind of, like, dishonest. It's like, oh, haha, he was in the MCU for half a second. It's like, what was the point of that? It was just you guys trying to stir up attention and interest about something that you're not going through with, and it's like, why? Like, it's not... I don't know. I feel like it's a disservice to fans, and it kind of upsets me.
Yes, but I do think that there's also a different point of view of... It's kind of funny that they had him appear over and he's in a bar in Mexico and then appears in the same bar in Mexico in the MCU, and it's slightly different, and then goes back and never really touches anything else or comes face to face with that. There is a part of me that feels like that's kind of a ha-ha funny troll move.
It is ha-ha funny, but it is also a troll move, and I feel trolled, and I don't like it.
Yeah, and we're in this world where, like, anything can happen in these superhero movies. I mean, we just got Deadpool and Wolverine that had, Chris Evans as Johnny Storm and Blade, Wesley Snipes' Blade in it, and I think the statute of limitations for spoilers are up on that because that came out months ago. But, you have those characters in it, so like anything is possible with these. And this one, none of that happened. And not to say it doesn't... I'd say this movie ends pretty definitively for this little trilogy that they've done, but it's also still open to things happening in the future. But they do expect you to have kind of a lot of reverence or almost nostalgia for the Venom character by the end of it. There's almost like a montage reflecting on this character in the franchise that almost made me laugh in the movie. I was like, is this supposed to be making me feel emotion? Because it is not at all. But I think that's it for my little spoiler corner on this one. There's not really anything else to spoil. I think the overall, I don't know if I'd even say it's fresh. I'm probably at like a 3 out of 5, just right in the middle, but that's being generous to
3 out of 5 is fine. The only thing I say, there are 2 post-end credit scenes. One right after, and then one after the long credits. Neither of which are important. You don't have to watch them. Check them out.
Like I'm not one to usually say like you can skip the end credit scenes, but like you can kind of skip the end.
You can skip the end credit scenes, but I mean, if you want to watch them, watch them. Yeah, Venom: Last Dance, fine, and watch it if you like the other ones. But you can definitely wait for streaming on this one if you want to. Well, that brings us right into
I'm gonna pause it for
movies.
a sec. Pause it for a second.
Oh,
I know we're streaming, but hold on just a second. I'll edit this out in the audio, but give me just one moment.
You guys are seeing behind the scenes. Yeah, it's gonna be edited out, which means you're only gonna see it if you're watching live or on our YouTube. So I guess I should do something noteworthy. I don't know. I got nothing, man. I got Hulk smash. What are you doing? Oh. It's getting edited out. It's not important. What up, guys? How's it going? Oh, I can talk to the audience since we're not keeping this. What up, Lord Jesus Christ? But yeah, no, Drew gets to go to film festivals. He went to Fantastic Fest, at which I believe he saw 24 films in like 5 days. And me and him go to regular press screenings, so we get to go see things a little early sometimes. We use this podcast to get on some press credential lists, and boom, there it is. So, hey, Drew, welcome back.
Do I need to edit that part out, or should it stay in?
Now, you can edit whatever you want. I did do something unseemly with a Hulk toy, though.
Oh, no.
I just felt like if they're watching live, they might as well get something extra. Yeah, it's at like 24 minutes, so just note that.
Okay, no problem. Anyways, yeah, I think you before that little
I got it.
Little gap, we were transitioning to fresh movies.
And that'll take us right into fresh movies. We watched a few fresh movies here. I guess I can kick it off. This one you had already spoken about, Drew, but I did see Beetlejuice. And you know what? It was not bad. I thought it was pretty good. I was surprised. I didn't expect to like it.
So you had low expectations.
I kind of low. I didn't think it was going to be like garbage, but I didn't think I was going to like it that much. I was like, how could I? I feel like, honestly, I don't feel like they pandered too much. I feel like there was an appropriate amount of callbacks. Gina Ortega makes everything good. She's the best. And then, yeah, Beetlejuice was solid. Michael Keaton comes back. It had a lot of really funny moments. You get to see Beetlejuice when he was alive, which was really interesting. I've always kind of wondered what kind of person he was in life. I feel like some of the plot stuff's a little hinky, like the main...
They're throwing a lot at the wall to see what sticks. There's like way too many little subplots going on.
Too many subplots.
Only a couple of them are interesting.
Yeah, the main baddie chick, like, I feel like she's not that important at the end of the day at all. Like, she's just kind of in the background, not doing a lot.
A lot of the little subplots they're able to wrap up pretty quickly. Like the same thing happens with the Jenna Ortega's character and the boyfriend. It's like, it leads to this thing, and then they're just kind of like, and we're done with this. Okay.
Yeah, it happened kind of abruptly, and like the way that they fixed it was like weird. I don't know. I like the way they took care of the actor that can't be in it anymore because he's a monster or whatever.
Who plays the father?
Yeah, they just make him get killed by a shark so he doesn't have a head, and that's pretty funny. Beetlejuice, worth a watch. If you like the first one, you might like this one just in time for spooky season. It has the appropriate Halloween vibes. So yeah, check out. I think it's worth a watch, and it's available streaming. a few places, so check it out.
Yeah, I think it's video. I think you can get it on demand now, and the rental price video on demand might be cheaper. It's still in theaters. It's still kicking. It's like still been doing really well.
Yeah. And it should. And I mean, it's Halloween. They timed it right. It's a good time to see Beetlejuice. I think you can take your kids to this. Like, it might give some really young ones nightmares, but I was like young when I saw the original, and that was kind of messed up, and I'm fine.
Beetlejuice has did better in its 7th week of release than Joker 2 did in its 3rd week of release. So take that as you will.
Yeah. Interesting.
Beetlejuice also made more money in its opening weekend domestically than Joker probably will in its full domestic run. So that's pretty wild.
And I can see that. Like, it's pretty solid, and it released at the right time. Just in time for spooky season. I've been trying to get into the Halloween spirit. I've been trying to play some spooky games, watch some movies. So much so, I went to, I think it's the 20th anniversary of the release of Shaun of the Dead. I don't know if you're a fan, but we went to a special theatrical event at Alamo Drafthouse. They had like inflatable cricket bats and ties and like trivia, and there was a zombie contest. It was a good time, man. And like, we were encouraged to talk during the movie and like talk, like quote along and stuff. Shaun of the Dead, I don't know. I'm trying to get into the spooky season feeling, and this is a classic in the zombie genre.
I have seen Shaun of the Dead, and I do enjoy it, but I have a confession.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the 2 other movies in the Cornetto trilogy that Edgar Wright did. I have not seen Hot Fuzz or The World's End, both of which I have heard are good, but I've only seen
True.
Shaun of the Dead of the 3.
You need to watch. As a movie aficionado, you'll really appreciate, because Hot Fuzz has a lot of like references and like meta references.
I've seen a lot of like bits and pieces of Hot Fuzz, to the point where I've probably seen the whole thing, but I don't think I've ever like properly sat down and watched it from beginning to end.
Hot Fuzz is fantastic. It's kind of still in the spooky season spirit. And so is World's End, so like it's a good time to watch them. I like all 3 of them a lot. I think World's End is like weirdly good.
Yeah, I've heard that it's low-key great.
Yeah, it's low-key great. It's fantastic. I don't know, all 3 movies are great. I'm surprised by that. Check them out for sure. If anyone at home hasn't seen these 3 movies, Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and At World's End, they are fantastic. They're not actually a trilogy. In case you didn't know, they're not actually related in any way.
Right, but they are referred to as the Cornetto trilogy.
Yeah,
as the 3,
and they kind of do go together in that sense, but they're just not related. Yeah. I'm glad we got to talk about that, because I'm a big fan.
Let's see.
You been getting into the Halloween spirit at all? Anything spooky?
I have. I did get out and see Smile 2.
Okay.
Which is the most recent new release. Venom comes out on Friday, but this came out this past weekend. And I got to see the first Smile at its premiere at Fantastic Fest in 2022. It was an opening night film, and I really enjoyed it. Have you seen the first Smile movie, Jahan?
I have not.
It's pretty good. I remember it had a really great trailer, and just the idea of like, seeing creepy smiling people is kind of fun. And then you see that movie, and it's actually, from a craft perspective, like really well done. The director, Parker Finn, he wrote and directed the first and second movie, and those are the only feature films he's directed. So this is kind of his baby, so to speak, and he's very talented as a filmmaker. And these are not just your typical horror movies like you may think. There's a lot more to it. Dealing with like trauma and stuff. The only thing with it is the actual curse, like the smile curse passed on in the movie, is a little bit complicated in how it works and how it's passed on. There's a lot of rules, I guess, but the first one I thought was pretty good, and the second one was probably about on the same level quality-wise. It was also really good, but the character and who it's dealing with it feels a little bit bigger scale, because It's a very famous pop star that gets infected with the smile curse in the second movie. And so she has an interesting backstory. Like, she was in this really bad accident a year ago, like traumatizing accident, and had to go to rehab due to substance abuse and things. So she's like recovering from all of that, and then gets this curse that makes you feel like you're going insane and makes you seem insane to the people around you. And the whole pop star aspect of that with this was fascinating. But there's some good scares. These movies do rely on jump scares, but they're at least well done jump scares. They don't always feel cheap, which is something that I appreciate in these movies. And yeah, I'd say if you're wanting a good spooky movie to go see in theaters before Halloween, and maybe you don't have the stomach for the intense gore and silliness that's in a Terrifier movie, yeah, go see Smile 2.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, it does look good, so that's good.
Yeah, it stars Naomi Scott. She plays the pop star in it. She, if you don't know, she was in the Power Rangers reboot movie that they did. She played the Pink Ranger, but she also was Jasmine.
Oh, yeah.
She's Jasmine in the live-action Aladdin movie they made as well. So really? I actually really like her, and she's very good in this.
That's the same person?
It is.
That's wild.
She also was in the poorly received Charlie's Angels reboot that had her and Kristen Stewart in it.
Yeah, no one needed that.
Yeah,
no one
nobody needed it. Anyways, so that's Smile 2, and then I also was going to mention, this is more in like Drew's Oscar corner realm. This will appeal to probably no one that listens to this show, but I will talk about it.
Alienate that audience, buddy. Get them.
No, actually, I mean, you might see some appeal after I talk through this one. So I watched a movie. It is on Netflix. It's a Netflix original called His Three Daughters. This movie is directed by Azazel Jacobs, what else has Azazel Jacobs directed? Nothing that I've really seen. Anyways. Mozart in the Jungle. A few episodes of it. There you go. Anyways, His Three Daughters is a drama, and it stars Carrie Coon, who you may know from the most recent couple Ghostbusters movies. She plays the mom in that movie. In those movies, I should say. Natasha Lyonne. And Elizabeth Olsen, Scarlet Witch herself. And in this movie, these three actresses play sisters who their father is in home hospice care. So they are now at home together in the apartment while he is basically in the other room, essentially dying. And they're trying to just kind of figure out life and their emotions and their relationships with each other and that kind of thing. It all mostly takes place in the apartment itself, and it feels like a movie that's based on a stage play. I'm shocked to see this movie is not based on a stage play. It's an original. But this is one of those kind of typical Oscar bait type movies that I enjoy, but that it's way more focused on the performances. Like, I don't know if I would recommend this as an amazing movie to someone, but the performances in it are very good and worth watching it for. Natasha Lyonne in particular, I thought was really great. But all three actresses are good, and I wouldn't be surprised to see at least one of them slip into like a supporting actress category this year, and as we get into award season. Especially since I think those categories are a little bit weak this year. So I think one of these could slip in. And so that's why I wanted to check it out. I was a little bit disappointed with the movie itself, but I thought the performances were great. So that's His Three Daughters. It is streaming on Netflix. If you have a loved one who was in hospice care or something of the sort recently, maybe don't watch this one. It might affect you in that way, but otherwise it's pretty good.
Awesome, man. Hell yeah. I also have a bit of a more emotional movie too that I watched. You suggested this one to me. Will and Harper, also I believe on Netflix. This movie is Will Ferrell and one of the, I believe, writers from Saturday Night Live, who later in life came out as trans. So she is transitioning to a woman, and having a lot of trouble. It's a very difficult thing to do. You're always worried about. You're always gonna be worried about people accepting you and all that kind of stuff. And so when Harper reaches out to Will Ferrell and tells him that she's trans, all this stuff. You talked about this a bit, but I'll reiterate some of it. Will decides, like, hey, great, like we need to hang out and figure out what this means in the context of our friendship. And so they go on a road trip across America while discussing trans issues and transitioning and friendship and love. And it's a very beautiful movie. I got teared up a bit. I have trans friends and family, and it's an important issue to me. I think that this movie is very important in the context of trans rights and acceptance. Just let people be people, man. But Will and Harper, I don't know, man. Like, honestly, I could see somebody who maybe is a bigot watching this movie and maybe coming around a little bit and understanding finally that they are just people and they just want to live their lives. And good on Will Ferrell, good on Harper. I know that this must have been very difficult for her, and good on Netflix. This is I think it's an important movie. So if you have friends or family that are trans or dealing with this kind of thing, it's a good movie to watch. And if you just want to know how to be a better ally, there's a lot of interesting conversation here. So check it out. I think it's absolutely worth your time.
I think being a better ally is a key thing that you mentioned here for, like, myself, who I think of myself as a very accepting person and an ally. And I went in, watched this, to see the friendship, and I still found myself learning things, and finding ways that I could be a better ally too. So I thought that was a big takeaway from it. And I knew that was a important issue for you, like our trans rights and things. Yeah. And so that's why I was really pushing for you to watch this. And I'm really glad you did. And I'm glad you had such a positive takeaway. Because I thought it would resonate, and it makes me very happy. I've watched this movie twice and enjoyed it thoroughly both times.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it for sure. LGBTQ rights, very important to me. I know a lot of trans, queer, and bi and gay people. My brother is gay and married to a man. Ooh, freak out. I love them both very dearly. My cousin is trans. One of my best friends in the whole world, she's trans, and it's just, it's good to just try to get outside of yourself and see them as people. They're just people, and they don't mean anyone any harm. Just, you really need to get over yourself, you know what I mean? But yeah, I appreciate that.
Perfect. Well, we could transition there to Fresh TV.
But on
week. What was the joke?
You said transition.
Over my head.
You said transition. I don't know. I was like, did he do that on purpose? I don't know.
I did not.
Pretty...
I did not.
I couldn't let that one slip.
Would have been low-hanging fruit had I even realized it. Yeah. Do you want to kick off? You've been talking. You talked to me a little bit about this when we were chatting yesterday in person about Dan to Dan.
Yes, Dan to Dan is the hot, fresh anime on the circuit right now. I'm in the anime community. I watch the TikToks and I'm keeping up with stuff. So like when something starts blowing through, you start seeing all the cosplayers doing it. You start seeing all the people talking about it. You know that it's in the zeitgeist. So I checked out Dan to Dan, and it is on Netflix. I think there's 3 episodes out right now, so it seems to be releasing weekly. It's a new anime. It has a lot of old school tendencies, and that includes some of the less savory elements that go along with that, like infantilization and schoolgirl stuff and blah blah blah. But it's a pretty off the wall anime. The first episode, involves a bet between an otaku, so like a nerdy guy who believes in UFOs and stuff, and this like outsider, like cool girl chick who believes in ghosts. And they decide to make a bet. They send each other to locations that are haunted and known abduction sites. And, so they go try to face aliens and ghosts. Stuff happens. Really off the wall stuff. Trigger warning sexual violence, potentially. But it stops before anything crazy happens. So it's a really interesting old school anime. Really fun, really zany. I like it a lot after the first episode, and I want to keep watching it. Dan to Dan is a spoonful of pure anime. So, like, check it out if you're into that kind of thing. I love the occult sci-fi animes, that kind of thing. And so it's a fun time, and they seem to have an interesting mythology going on inside of this show. So, but it does have that problem where it's like all about like smushing butts, It's got like that. It's almost at that like Fooly Cooly level, and anyone who knows. Fooly Cooly, pretty sexual anime. This one has a lot of that like I don't know, Girls Gone Wild at college vibes, but it's still pretty fun. And yeah, check it
out. Great. Well, I watched, or I should say, finished watching a Netflix series called Nobody Wants This. And I think when we last did an episode, I had watched the first 2 episodes or so and was enjoying it on Netflix. And I finished this. There are 10 episodes total. They are all under 30 minutes. So this is a truly bingeable show and super digestible. Like, it's just really easy to watch. And I am not a binge watcher. I could sit and binge watch this show. I enjoyed it. The premise is you've got Kristen Bell, who plays a podcaster, appropriate as we discuss the show on a podcast of our own. She plays a podcaster who she and her sister have a very successful podcast where they talk about like sex and dating and relationships and such. And both are, they find it difficult to get into serious relationships, so on and so forth. And it's probably better for their podcast that they don't get in real relationships. And however, of course, Kristen Bell meets Noah, played by Adam Brody, who is a rabbi who's just getting out of a long-term relationship to a woman who he had initially planned to propose to. That didn't work out. He's now on the market. Comes from, obviously he is a rabbi. His family is Jewish, has very different I guess I'll say standards compared to what Kristen Bell's character is currently doing in her life. And of course the two fall for each other, and it's about them kind of making sense of their relationship and changing what they're used to and what they've come to expect in relationships to, make it work. And I think that they have really great chemistry. I think Adam Brody is just extremely charming in this show, and it's very fun. I think this was kind of a surprise hit for Netflix. It was on the top 10 for weeks. It might still be there. It was number 1 for a while. I'm sure there are a lot of people that have watched this since it debuted on there. But yeah, Nobody Wants This. I found this to be super fresh, really enjoyable, and a good show that I could watch with my wife. And yeah, Nobody Wants This. It's a Netflix series, and I blew through it.
Awesome, man. That's going to take us right into fresh games. We both played a little bit of something. I'm going to go ahead and jump off. I played a game called Inscription. It is free on Game Pass. It's a bit of an older game, but it's one I've always wanted to play. It is a roguelike deck builder, much in the same vein as Slay the Spire and Demon Train, which are, is it Demon Train? Whatever. It's something like that. But yeah, it's if you're familiar with those kind of titles, you'll be familiar with this. You you're trying to beat this boss battle. It's kind of cool. The game starts off, you're in a room with a psychopath. He's a crazy, seemingly supernatural evil that sits across a table. You can only really see his eyes. And he's kind of running you through like a Dungeons and Dragons game. Like he pulls out maps and miniatures and he puts on masks to be different characters. And the whole time you're doing these card battles against him. Some of the battles have themes. There's all sorts of different items, totems. But then you can get up from the table, walk around the room. There's some puzzles to do. If you do everything right, you can beat him. And make it to the end of the game, or so I thought. I beat this game, and then there's like 2 more games I had to beat afterwards before I actually beat the game officially. They get into this really interesting meta plot with like live action characters and video, which I didn't see coming. This game, I don't know. I can see why it's a cult classic. It is crazy. The premise is crazy. It seems that you're just locked in this room with this killer, but there's so much more going on beyond it. And once you start unraveling the mystery of what's going on, it's really interesting. And if you're paying attention to the clues, you can get a little bit more bang for your buck with this really, really good game. It's honestly one of the best roguelike deck builders I've ever played. And it's up there with my favorite games now. Inscription, absolutely fresh. Absolutely worth playing.
Good stuff. The only game I was going to mention today was Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which again, the last time we recorded, I think I had mentioned I had just started it and was really enjoying what little bit I had played. And boy, this is one of those that just took over me. And anytime I had a spare moment, I was typically playing this game. And I beat it, and I thoroughly beat it. I collected every heart piece in the game. I collected all of the might crystals that you collect. I got all the stamp platforms. I did almost everything there is to do in the game, minus some challenge levels. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this. I kind of mentioned this when I initially spoke about it. They do a great job of keeping some of the creative freedoms that have been introduced in the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom games, where you can use your environment and different things to your advantage in creative ways. They're able to do something similar with the echoes in this game, but still keep the classic Zelda dungeons in a more traditional way that I've been missing from some of those recent Zelda entries. So this is a true example of kind of having your cake and eating it too. There's like over 150 echoes that you can unlock in this game, and I got all of them. You use a lot of different ones for different scenarios. You still kind of fall back on some of your favorites, especially as you advance in the game. So I had like my reliable ones, but I still found myself clearing puzzles in unique ways that even surprised myself. So Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, wonderful Switch game, great way to pass your time. It's family friendly. You can play it around your kids, around your family. They can even maybe give you ideas to help you get through puzzles, stuff like that. So fun in an interactive way. But I had a great time with this. It was much needed as far as the types of games I've been looking to play lately, and I really enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, man. I look forward to sinking my teeth into that one as well. Only played a little, liked what I've seen so far. But yeah, so that's mostly it for our fresh games, but I do want to tease a little bit here. Coming up on the horizon very soon, in like 8 days or so, Dragon Age Veilguard is dropping on all consoles. This is probably going to be the talk of the town for a little while, so I went ahead and pre-ordered it. I know that you're interested in this as well, so I'm hoping that we can crap all over this game and then come back and talk about how good it is. Coming up soon here, so
I'll prioritize this so we can talk about it. October's been a busy month, man.
Like busy.
We had the Silent Hill 2 remake came out for PlayStation 5. Metaphor Reads Fantasio is one that I really want to play, that I'm looking forward to, but it's going to take lots of hours. And then you got Dragon Age coming, and more. So there's just a lot to play and not enough time. So these are going to be added to the backlog to get to, but I will prioritize Dragon Age, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
I can't wait to talk about it, man. Yeah. All that's left is our fresh picks of the week. Mine is going to be Inscription. It joined the ranks of my favorite games, and I think it's really great. It's on Game Pass, so there's no reason not to try it out. That's Inscription.
I kind of went back and forth whether I was going to do Nobody Wants This or Zelda Echoes of Wisdom as my fresh pick of the week. But I have to go with Zelda, just with how obsessed I was with it during my time playing it. I almost burnt myself out with it because I played so much so quickly, but I did beat it. I saw it through, and for me, it's like a 9 out of 10 video game that I enjoyed, and I can't not put it as my fresh pick of the week.
Hell yeah, man. That's an excellent choice. I don't think a lot of people are going to argue with you there. That was a good week. We did a lot of stuff. We saw a lot of things, and we talked about a lot of cool things. So I had fun with this episode of the podcast. I hope you did too. Thanks everyone for watching Fresh Out the Podcast. I am Jahan, the board game guru and game master extraordinary. If you don't know what that means, if you don't know what a game master is, you should come check out Fresh Out the Box. That is the TTRPG channel that I am the GM of over here. We got YouTube, all that good stuff. Right now we're playing Vampire the Masquerade right before we go on hiatus because I'm having a baby. But, you know, come check out our backlog of literally hundreds of actual play videos.
And I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. And yeah, you can find me at Drew Munhausen on most different social media platforms, either at Drew Munhausen or at D Munhausen. You can find me here talking to Jahan. You can find me over on Twitter. You can find me on Letterboxd, where I'm logging what movies I've watched. And yeah, we'll have to, we're ahead of the curve talking about Venom this week, which is the big new release that comes out this week. So yeah, we'll have to find some things to talk about next week. Maybe I'll finally dive into Penguin. It's been on the back burner for me. Maybe I'll dive into Agatha, and that can be a good Halloween conversation. We'll figure some stuff out. We'll have stuff.
Both fantastic choices. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Stay fresh.